Good morning, everyone. Alex, if you could just quickly turn on your camera when we're doing things like voting and stuff, just so that we can make sure we do have quorum, as I have received regrets from a majority, not a majority of the committee, but a good portion of them, and I just want to make sure we have quorum at all times. Thanks.
Will do. I'm just working on having a tech issue for a second, but I should be good in a minute.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and the first business is approval of the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Anne and then Jen. Thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We're moving on to confirmation of the minutes from the Kingston Heritage Properties Committee meeting held on Wednesday, July 17th be approved. Could I have a mover? Were there any changes required? Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder? Jen and Anne. And the vote, please. All in favor? Great, thank you. Next order of business is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Is there anyone who needs to disclose at this point in time? And if you find that later as we get into the meeting you do have pecuniary interest, just let us know, please. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to delegations. And as far as I know, there are none. Briefings, there are none. So we will move on to business. And that would involve a pre-consultation? Nope. Oh, here we go. Way down here, Stream 3 permit, approval through council authority, and that is application for OHA approval, 1148 Sunnyside Road. And we'll go over to the staff for the introduction. Thanks. And I guess that's Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this property is known as the Powley Farmhouse. It's at 1148 Sunnyside Road. It was formerly at 1397 Sydenham Road. It's on the southwest corner of Sunnyside and Sydenham Road, just north of the 401. It was recently designated under Part 4 of the Heritage Act earlier this year. The application before the committee is for new construction and demolition under sections 33 and 34 of the Heritage Act to support a request to approve the demolition of a small garden shed and to construct a new single-story commercial building. The wooden garden shed appears to be built in the latter part of the 20th century and is to be removed to allow for the redevelopment of the site. The new building is located just west of the Limestone Heritage Building, which is the Powley House, with vehicular access off of Sunnyside Road. Parking is proposed to be on the west side of the building, and pedestrian access to the building is via a pedimented entrance facing west. The building is to be clad in a vertical board and batten style siding with a darker colored asphalt shingle roof. Landscaping is proposed, including trees and shrubs along the south and east sides of the building, and a small metal fence is proposed to the rear of the stone dwelling. The application included a cover letter from the owner, detailed site and elevation plans, and a heritage impact statement, which are all attached in dash, or included in dash and attached to this agenda in the applicable portions. According to the submission, the intent is to build a small grocery store designed to raise funds for a Christian-based private school called One School Global. It is to be a private members-only store managed by a group of volunteers who are organized by the Rideau Lakes Funding Organization. The proposed new building has been designed as a freestanding building to have no physical impacts to the primary heritage attributes of the property, which is the limestone house. The new commercial building is to be set back over 14 meters from Sydenham Road and over 13 meters from Sunnyside Road in order that the Prowley House remains the prominent focal point of the property. The single-story height and pitched roof of the new building and its location away from both frontages will minimize its overall visual impact on the character of the property. And the owners intend to conserve and restore the Prowley House under a separate application. And Madam Chair, our opinion is that the proposal will uphold heritage conservation objectives set out in the official plan, as well as the provincial and federal best practice guidelines, and therefore we recommend approval. And the motion is in the agenda. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Are there any questions from committee, first of all? Could I hand the chair over to Jen? I do have a question for staff.
Yes, I accept.
That's great. This is just a general question, wondering about the application, and I noticed that I had to go to Dash to look up all of the information on like the HIS and so on, and I just wondered if you normally put those in with the application, and will it be included for council to look at when it goes to council?
Good question, Madam Chair. The entirety of the submission is available on Dash, and that's sort of Dash's purpose is as a big filing cabinet for all of that material to be publicly available as well as available for committee and council. We try to pull the applicable information for the reports only so that committee does not have to go through the entire document, but it's available if they choose.
Okay, so then my next question is, I thought that there were some really good points made by staff about the design of the building and so on, and I'm just interested in finding out more about what the applicant feels regarding these questions that were on Dash and the design and simplifying the design. So maybe I could ask the applicant that.
Just wanted to confirm, I believe Owen Lawrenson is the applicant, so if you would like to reply to that comment, please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. We did take account of the various comments, and I discussed them with Ryan. He's been helping us through the process, and I will say that the process with the city has been very good. I think we're taking into account the various suggestions and trying to incorporate them into the building as much as it's sort of sensible and feasible to the usage of the building. So one of the things that we have taken on is a change to our siding so that we have a vertical siding, which is more in keeping with the times of that heritage property, and also the window configuration. The heritage impact study suggested that we should use more of a horizontal window. So we are going to take that up and also close up the glazing in the garage doors. So we have tried to, wherever possible, take those suggestions. There was a suggestion about incorporating the stone house into the functionality of the store. And I think that could be a challenge at this point. They are two different zonings, and to upgrade the stone house to the commercial zoning would be fairly extensive. So I don't know if that answers your question. I think we're very open to doing what we can, sort of within the funds that we have and within the practicality
Yes, and one more question for you before I take the chair back, and that is just about the restoration of the Powley House itself, and maybe if you could provide, do you have a timeline for this?
I guess our focus has been the new build at this point. It has been suggested to us that there is a small amount of grant money available from the city, and I think one of the first things we wanted to do was some cosmetic work around the windows. The existing shutters are kind of, well, some of them were almost falling off, and I think we could dress it up on the exterior quite a bit by, without a lot of funding. I guess we wanted to sort of tackle that as a separate project, and I probably need to talk to the other shareholders to get some timelines, in a scope of work for that.
Thanks.
Does that answer your questions? Is that?
Yes, thank you.
I'd like to hand the chair back to Jane,
Thanks, Jen.
if she accepts.
And I recognize Peter Gower has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was pleased at your comment on the Powley House and Ryan's comment that there is going to be work done. And Mr. Lawrence, I really commend you for that, because a number of us commented on the Powley House when we were going up to see the site, and we really look forward and hope that you can, in fact, do some work on that later on. It's in need of it, as you probably know. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Peter. Okay. Are there any questions from the public now? Yes, I recognize Don Taylor.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of comments and questions that really follow up what you've already heard. This is a rather complex application, and I think it's disappointing that it didn't come either to the round table or to a pre-consultation of this committee, so that some of these questions could have been circulated and dealt with at an early stage. I mean, I think that's really what the roundtable is intended to do, and I really hope that staff in general try to encourage applicants to make use of it before they get deeply into plans and impact statements. My next comment is that it really seems to me unfortunate that the heritage impact statement was not included in the agenda. I know it's on Dash, but committee members and councillors are busy people, and they don't have time for everything. And if they don't see the material in the agenda, they probably suppose that it's not very important. In fact, that is very important. And I think heritage impact statements should regularly be in the agenda. Also on Dash, Mr. Leary asked a number of very good questions, and we've already heard about them, but I'd like to sort of follow them up by saying that, a couple of things. One possibility that I'm sure was explored was that the store be set to the rear, along Sunnyside, the rear of the lot, and the driveway would then be between the store and the house. I think that would allow them to function better separately, which they're going to have to do in the long run, I presume. I think it would certainly be less distracting to the farmhouse to have it set a bit further back. I noticed that the applicants quite correctly planned that the drive shed should have the appearance of the store should have the appearance of a rural drive shed, and that's a good thing. but rural drive sheds have simple rectangular plans and simple gable roofs. So I'm surprised that the store layout and plan is so much more complicated. Simplifying the design, I'm sure, would reduce costs. And I'm kind of disappointed that that wasn't in the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. And is there any response to Mr. Taylor's comments from the applicant or the staff? Thanks. Okay, see.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just jump in just for a minute.
Sure.
Appreciate Mr. Taylor's comments. There was quite a bit of work that went into the actual placing of the building. One of the things that happens at the store is we have to receive sort of intermediate sized trucks with delivery every week or two. And we need a certain amount of space to be able to get those vehicles in. One of the things that was very prominent in the discussions with the city was that the entire entrance off of Sydenham needed to be removed. And that involved working with the Ministry of Transportation as well. So all entrance and exiting has to happen off Sunnyside Road, which limits how far back we can put the building and still have some adequate parking in a safe area. Important to us to make sure that the parking is in a place where it's farthest from the main traffic in case there's children coming out of those vehicles and whatnot. So as for the sort of building, we have looked at a bunch of different ideas. One of the problems of just making a rectangular building with a gable roof is that the wider the building to accommodate the size that we need without a jut provides a much taller roof line, which starts to kind of look imposing against the stone house. The building itself as it is already larger in square footage than the house. So to have, a high gable roof, we thought wouldn't look good, just look too sort of imposing compared to the stone house. But I'm not sure if any of those answers help. It has been a very long process and really a very interesting process, but we are keen to move forward, and we've tried to think through these things. That's it.
Thank you. That's great. So we're going to move on to the motion, correct? Could I have a mover and a seconder for approval through council authority? Anne and Jen. And I'd like to call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, and now we have the notice of intention to designate under the Ontario Heritage Act, and I'll turn to staff for the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this report provides background information regarding another 14 properties to determine their cultural heritage value and interest. The properties are at 161 Princess Street, 165 to 163 to 165 Princess Street, 167 Princess Street, 23 Rideau, 25 Rideau, 27 Rideau, 29 Rideau, 31 Rideau, and 33 Rideau, 25 Richard Street, 262 Princess Street, 3566 Boundary Road, 3748 Sand Hill Road, and 427 through 429 Victoria Street. They were evaluated and found to exceed the threshold established by the province of Ontario for designation under Part 4 of the Heritage Act. This group includes a diverse mix of heritage resources. It includes 3 prominent Princess Street buildings, including a former theater, a pair of sandstone vernacular farmhouses in the East End, a brick row of historically working-class houses that defines a section of Rideau Street, an unusual stone dwelling in Portsmouth Village, and a substantial limestone dwelling in Williamsville. The owners of the properties listed have been provided with the draft designation bylaws and general information on heritage designations by registered mail. The owners have also been invited to an open house on July 24th, hosted by planning staff, heritage planning staff. One property owner attended that meeting. We also received 1 letter of objection from the owner who owns 27, 29, and 31 Rideau Street, and that's included in your agenda. All 14 of the properties in the group meet the provincial criteria for evaluating cultural heritage value, as set out in Ontario Regulation 906, and are thus recommended for designation. The notice of intention to designate and draft bylaws have been prepared in accordance with the recent changes to the Heritage Act. Accordingly, staff recommend proceeding with serving notice of intention to designate on these properties to ensure their conservation and to enable the city to provide support and resources to the owners and tenants. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none. Are there questions from the public? Okay, seeing none. I need a mover and a seconder for this recommendation to council. Peter and Jen. And I'll call the vote now, and all those in favor, raise your hands. And that is carried. Thank you. Here we go. Motions. There are, working groups. I don't think we have any reports on that. Permit approval status update. I believe the permit report was included,
Sorry, to go.
I believe
I had a question about that one, or a note anyway.
the permit report was included in the agenda.
Yeah, sorry, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out for the permit reporting out, the property noted as 323 King Street East is actually at 232 King Street East. Just a quick typo on that, thanks.
Okay, noted. Do we need to do anything? Okay, great. That's great. So that report is in the agenda package. There are no motions. There are no notices of motion. No other business. No extra correspondence, correct? And the date of the next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 18th at 9:30 a.m. And I need to, we're going to adjourn now if there's no other business. And I need a mover and a seconder. Anne and Jen, thank you. And thank you to everyone. Oh, I need to call a vote, sorry. All those in favor of adjourning. Okay, thank you. Thanks to everybody. Have a great day.